time for another edition of one of our new segments, No Sweat Tech, where we try and break it down and make it nice and easy for you to navigate your technology. And when I say we, I'm not part of the we at all. It is our next guest who joins us every fortnight, Verena Franz from Grand Aids. Verena, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me back, Mark.
Today we're looking at the very basics. We're about to buy some new technology, a new phone, and there are a couple of different basic ways we can go, getting on the contract or prepaid. So let's start by just explaining the basic differences between the two.
For sure. So there's two different types of plans. A contract basically just means you are billed after a month of usage. It's post-paid. Often you set it up with direct debit or like have the credit card saved with your provider. And sometimes those contracts have a minimum length of 1 to 3 years, but there is more and more contracts now that can actually be cancelled monthly. So it's not so much lock-in anymore if you don't need it. And prepaid means you pay for what you're going to use ahead of time. So I charge basically credit to my phone's SIM card to use over the next 28 days. There's even long period prepaid, which is half a year to a year, depending on sort of how much you're going to use your phone.
Yeah, and I think most people, we just sort of go with whatever the person at the phone store suggests. They say, oh, how much data or how many phone calls, whatever you're using, and then we get on it. And then sometimes we can find down the road that we might not be on the plan that's best for us. Let's have a look through some of the plans in general and how they kind of all work.
Yeah, so generally all the new plans are out there. They now have unlimited calls and text messages across Australia. And some also offer some minutes to call overseas if that is something you need to stay in touch with family that might not be tech savvy enough to do Skype, like your grandparents in England. That might be something to look out for, to get the extra 300 minutes to call to England within your contract, or your prepaid. Prepaid offers that too. But yeah, the difference in cost nowadays really only lies in the amount of mobile data. How much internet do you use on your phone? Do you watch videos? Do you post things? Do you even watch things like Netflix? So it might be good to go with a provider that offers a bit of free data just for Netflix and Spotify. There's all those sort of little perks that some of them offer. So you got to shop around. And you don't only have to go with the main providers like Vodafone, like your Telstra and Optus. There is a lot of smaller providers nowadays that use their network, so basically lease the network from them. But they save a lot of money by not having shops, and their their service is only online and on the phone if you run into any trouble, which for the younger people, that's not a problem. So check out providers like Amaysim or Moose Mobile has like really good plans coming out, and you can save a lot of money. And one thing I'd love to mention is if you're currently paying more than $50 a month for your plan and you're not paying off a phone, you are getting ripped off.
Wow.
Unless you're having like a crazy amount of data. So change your plan.
So if we sort of go back to the start there, Verena, I guess how we've used our phone changed. I mean, if you look at certainly 20 years ago when phones were fairly new, it was all about the calls. It was all about sending the on-text message. Now we do so much more of the other stuff. I could probably count on one hand the amount of phone calls I've made on my phone in the last week, but I've been on my phone a truckload of times. So we're using that data, we're watching videos, we're doing all of that. So it's interesting you mentioned, though, that if we're on that contract and we're paying more than $50, notwithstanding if you're still paying off the phone, but you reckon that's kind of a bit of a magic number there?
Yeah, that's kind of the ballpark I'd go with nowadays. I think comfortably, if you don't use lots of data, you should pay around $20. If you use a medium amount of data, $30 to $40, and if you use lots, maybe $50 to $60 if you really want like your 60 gigabytes of data a month or something like that. But I think most people will be sitting quite comfortably with like a Vodafone plan that has 40 gigabyte on the TPG. Like it's Vodafone Network TPG 40 gigabytes for $30. I haven't seen a plan like that much, but they're coming out more and more, so keep your eyes out for those offers.
So as an example there, just watch out for and see what else is around, and shop around is always good. All right, from there we have a look at some of the scams of the week, and of course Valentine's Day now done and dusted. The romance scams, the scammers are out and about trying to get you on Feb 14th.
Yeah, so no, I thought it's actually quite sad. So it's not... it's come out just now before Valentine's Day. Maybe people were a bit more vulnerable, or it's come up more and more. So people find you on a dating app, and then they try and lure you off that dating app and say, oh, let's chat maybe on WhatsApp or this other chatting software, and you then have contact with them outside that dating app. But the recommendation is stay on the dating app as long as you can if you're not meeting the person and in face-to-face yet. And so what happens is they really like try and make you fall in love with them, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, so I have some financial advice, and I think you should really invest a little bit in this and that, and then they drop you like anything once you run out of money. So they
it's a bit like real life.
Yeah, and interesting enough, this scam is really reaching people under 35 mostly. So
wow, that seems to be
the
a
young
bit
ones that are being affected.
That's actually, and I'm being stereotypical here, but that seems to be a bit of a change. So I guess more and more people on these things, and like you said, if you're on those sort of apps, unless you're until you meet the person, stay within that spot as well. All right.
So generally, do not trust financial advice from anyone you've met on the internet.
It's a good place to start.
Until you meet them in person and sort of have rapport.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right, couple of things to watch out for this week. The scams are around, and if you're out to buy a new phone, keep in mind some of those bits and pieces that we had from Verena Friends from Grand Aids. We'll catch you in a fortnight, Verena.
2NURFM, a broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.